We're ready.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Mayor Wiggins.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Scribner.
Here.
Councilmember Pokencourt.
Here.
Councilmember Davies.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. Before we go on with the flag salute, I'd like to read a statement concerning the coronavirus. The City of Tehachapi continues to follow guidelines from our federal, state, and regional leaders and the Centers for Disease Control in regards to assisting in flattening the infection curve from COVID-19, commonly referred to as coronavirus. We are purposely holding this meeting tonight to continue to conduct city business, but we ask that all audience members remain seated, limit interaction with each other, practice social distancing, and at the conclusion of the meeting, refrain from approaching council members and staff with additional questions. All questions and follow-ups to this meeting can be conducted via phone or email, and our contact information is listed on the city's website. At the conclusion of tonight's meeting, our city manager will give a detailed update on the steps the city of Tehachapi is taking in regards to the coronavirus, so please hold all comments and questions concerning that issue. All right. We are not having an invocation tonight, and I would ask that you all rise and that Phil leads in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If that is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered in listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to comment. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Council?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it was a 5-0 vote. Audience oral and written communications. The City Council welcomes public comments on any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. We respectfully request that this public forum be utilized in a positive and constructive manner. Persons addressing the council should first state their name and area of residence, this matter of city business to be discussed, and the organization they're representing, if any. And are there anyone who wishes to have any public comments? All right, I am also going to tell you that if there are comments later, we're going to limit them to 1 minute. It's not because we don't want to listen to you, it's that we're trying to get in and out as quickly as possible with the least bit of exposure possible. All right, we are also going to remove item number 8, and that will be on our next agenda?
A future agenda.
A future agenda, okay. So we are not going to discuss mid-year budget adjustments. Okay. Item number 5.
Madam Mayor, I need to recuse myself because I'm an employee of RSM Petroleum.
Thank you. Disbursements and bills for RSI Petroleum for February 25th, 2020 through March 9th, 2020. Have any questions? Council?
No.
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded as presented by staff. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let the record show it was a 4-1 vote.
4-0.
4-0. I apologize. I can't count either.
Keep you honest.
That's no brain.
Number 10, Developmental Services Director Report.
Honorable Mayor and council members, the first of the two items that I have for you tonight is the Senate Bill 1 list of projects for fiscal year 2020-21. As you guys all know, SB 1 or Senate Bill 1 is better known as the gas tax, but it's the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. The city of Tehachapi does receive funds through this that are used for road maintenance. We receive annually about $270,000, and that's slated under SB 1 to last for 10 years. With that money comes a relatively modest list of requirements for reporting to the state, and you guys have done this before. So a couple of times a year we have to let you know and give the public an opportunity to let us know what they're thinking are our priorities for the use of that money, and then later in the year we have to report on how we spend money. And so tonight we're asking you to adopt a resolution to identify the projects that we initially proposed to utilize this money on. Just as a reminder, we've been saving this money up because at $270,000 it's not a large amount of money in this world, and so we have been advising you from a staff level that the better thing to do is to wait a couple of years and then try to undertake a larger project in order to get a better efficiency with the money. So one of the items I wanted to mention to you tonight is that I do think that we've begun to talk on a staff level about a project next spring and summer with this money, and that project would consist largely of what we're putting in the staff report this year. You're required to report your best knowledge of what you intend to do, but the program is flexible enough to allow you to make a modification if you need to, and then come back and report what you did, as long as the modification falls within the rules of what you can spend the money under the Senate bill of regulation on, which is road repair. But this list is the same list that was presented to you last year. And so specifically the areas that we are recommending local pavement rehabilitation to be are listed there under the project details. Instead of reading them to you, especially considering the size of the audience tonight, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. Again, this list has not changed from the prior year. With the exception of the Snyder Avenue Road rehabilitation, that is our next program, RSTP, or Regional Service Transportation Program money project. And we list it here so that we have the ability, the flexibility to use SB1 to cover our match component of that project, if at that time we determine and you guys adopt the budget that has it that way versus funding that match requirement in a different way. But I did want to report to you that I do think that next year we expect to have about $500,000 in the bank come next spring or summer, and so we think that will be sufficient to take a sizable bite out of the projects that are presented and shown up here tonight. So with that, I recommend that you adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of Tehachapi approving the list of eligible projects proposed to receive funding for fiscal year 2021 from the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account, RMRA, created by SB1. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the audience concerning this? Council?
Can I ask where Georgia Street is, and is that across from the high school over that way?
That's
It's in
correct.
District 2.
Okay, so it's in the new track?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And maybe for your sake and the public too, Councilmember Bogencourt, we do recommend that prevailing engineering logic is that you should spend some amount of your budget in maintaining the streets that are in good condition, because it's relatively cheap to do maintenance on streets that just need an oil coat or something like that, versus, you know, $500,000 wouldn't get me halfway down Valley Boulevard between Curry and Tucker, but I can do several neighborhoods with that amount of money in streets that need a lesser level of rehabilitation. So we've sprinkled in here some neighborhoods that are relatively new, and it's a great time to do a cheap rehabilitation and extend their life, and then a couple of neighborhoods that might have particularly the downtown area, where we might do something a little bit more intense than a simple seal coat. So.
Yes?
That was my question. So some streets they'll be ground down because of the failing concrete or asphalt concrete, and someone will just get us a seal.
Yeah, so Snyder Avenue, we expect to do a fairly sizable rehabilitation. Again, this money would be used just to match the RSTP funds necessary for that project. In the first set of boxes, I think we're thinking just a seal coat of some sort, just an overspray, something to rejuvenate the asphalt. That's the term that we use. In the downtown area, we probably need something more than a rejuvenating seal. So it's probably something that's got elastic quality to it, so it'll bridge gapping and cracks more readily. So it'll be a slightly more expensive type of seal coat. I don't think we can afford to do a lot of dig out and repair, so it might, for instance, be a micro surfacing. Anyway, if you guys would like us to go into greater detail about what those engineering techniques look like, we will, but otherwise we would likely do that when we have the package ready for you guys' approval to take out to bid, so.
One last one. Yeah, fine. So obviously people are gonna say, well, you're not doing my street this year because why? Why is that neighborhood getting it and mine isn't? So do you have a list so that we can present to folks, say, okay, this is the ones this year and these are the ones slated for next year?
No, I don't usually. I mean, this is what we're slated to spend money we expect to have by the end of next year on. If I can get this, we always have a list that's slightly larger than what we think we can cover in money, just in case the economy's in a place where we can get a little extra bang for a buck. We'd hate to be stuck with not having programmed enough roads into the program. In terms of a greater list for the city, it's a tough one for us because each year to each time we update our inventory of road work, things change at a different rate depending upon the type of traffic that they have and the volume of traffic that they have. And those traffic patterns change over time. So it's really hard to give somebody a list of every street in town from 1 to 300 in terms of priority for spending money, because literally every year or two that list is going to move around a little bit if money were no object. The other reality too is it gives people the wrong sense. Like, we still, even with SB1, don't even have close to enough money to maintain the road network that we have. This is, there's a lot of talk nationally, finally, about infrastructure reinvestment and how we need to be doing a better job of routing money in this direction. But, so no, we usually only kind of plan out that next 10 or 15 streets and try to make good judgment calls about, for instance, the neighborhood across the high school. It's or Clearview Track. Both of these are about a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15-year-old set of roads, and we hate to lose them. So that's why we're prioritizing them, and then also trying to capture some other roads at the same time. So we're doing a mix of maintaining the newer stuff and maybe trying to grab a few of the older ones and bring them up. So that's the methodology. But it's tough to come up with a list of 1 through 300 and have it be meaningful. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I remember last year, we kind of went in sync with Ridgecrest when they had the machines up there. So am I correct in that, saying that, so.
I do think we did a little bit of work.
Yeah, so we're gonna kind of work with some of our neighboring cities, so when they do that, we can save some money on travel time and stuff with different construction companies.
If we can, we will. In this case, when you get to a large enough sum of money, especially with a seal coat project, like $500,000 is a sizable seal coat project. So our project gets enough gravity at that point to sort of make the economy of it work, make sense without needing to do what our neighbors do. It's more likely that we would work around the time like Bakersfield does, because they do a huge seal coating project pretty much every year. But yeah, so we keep an eye out for that kind of stuff, trying to pay attention. But with a project this size, we're hopeful that our project will be large enough that it will be its own economy. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 10, the SB1 list of projects to receive funding for the fiscal 2020-2021 for the road maintenance and rehabilitation amount.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded as presented by staff. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it was a 5-0 vote.
My second item for you all tonight is an agreement for community development activity, the Tehachapi Northside Neighborhood Improvements Project Phase 2. As you all will recall, back in early 2018, the City Council allocated several years of our community development block grant funds towards another phase of sidewalk construction in the Northside neighborhood. So that neighborhood particularly is north of the railroad tracks, bounded by Mill Street and Hayes roughly. That area is our only area in town that qualifies for CDBG funding. It's nominally the only area in town that qualifies for it, and so we've been targeting spending our CDBG funds in that area for several cycles now. And the last project that we did was the construction of sidewalks on Green Street and H Street, north of the railroad tracks, and we feel like that's been a very successful project. So as you will all recall, you allocated the funds for the next 3 years, which total about $160,000, $170,000 towards additional sidewalks on the blocks of Mojave, Davis, and Robinson between H and, what's the number, I. Sorry. So about 3 blocks running north-south in that neighborhood, trying to finish up all the gaps of missing sidewalk to the greatest degree that that money will get us there. And so we've been working on that project. We have hired a consultant to do that work. They are nearly complete with the design project. And one of the components of this is for us to enter into an agreement with the County of Kern, who administers the CDBG program, and for the expenditure of those funds. So they're ready for that, and we're ready to get that agreement in place. It then takes several months before we can then get that package ready and go out to construct that project. So with that in mind, this is just furthering the next step in a project that you have previously directed us to undertake. And so my recommendation is that you approve the agreement between the City of Tehachapi and the County of Kern for community development activity for the Tehachapi Northside Neighborhoods Improvements Project Phase 2, CE number 2018-01, and authorize the mayor to sign. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the audience? Council?
No, since it's in my district, in that area, I'd be happy to introduce or make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded, as presented by staff. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Let the record show it was a 5-0 vote.
Thank you.
City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor Wiggins. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about the corona and the fight against the corona or COVID-19 virus that we're experiencing in our city, in our county, in our state, in our nation, and our world. What are we doing at the city of Tehachapi to combat that? The guidelines and protocols are moving swiftly. Just today, things continue to come out from the federal government, the state government, county government, CDC, Kern County Health Department, so on and so forth. I can assure you that the city of Tehachapi is doing everything in its power to combat this pandemic. The executive staff met first thing this morning. As you'll see, there are only 4 of us here this morning, or this evening. That's by design because we only have the 4 items that are on the agenda, the people that are here for that. And we meet every day. We started today at 4 o'clock, and we're going to meet every day at 4 o'clock to understand the day that has transpired and to project and plan for the next 24 hours. The city of Tehachapi is following guidelines implemented by, as I said, the federal, state, and county officials, and have adjusted business practices to adhere to standards to help flatten the curve of the COVID-19 virus and the potential spread of this virus in our city and our community. Effective tomorrow, Tuesday, March 16th, all essential city services will be suspended and all city facilities will be closed to the public until further notice. What does that mean? That means City Hall Annex, and the police department, the door will be locked. That doesn't mean we're not working. That doesn't mean we're not serving the citizens, and I'm going to go into that a little bit. Essential city services that will remain in operation at this time, remain in operation. City management, of course, Tehachapi Police Department, our freshwater operations, our wastewater treatment plant operations, our city communications, our street maintenance, graffiti removal, trash recycling service through our contractor Waste Management. That does not include recycling. Waste Management has ceased the recycling operations as of today. Our parks and public space maintenance will continue. Our building inspections will continue on a semi-limited basis and permitting by appointment only. All employees are working at the city, continuing doing what we do best. All of the services and facilities, including the Senior Citizen Center, museums, visitor center, and in-person services at City Hall will be unavailable. If you have any questions regarding specific city services, please contact City Hall. We can be reached at our number, as always, 822-2200. The police department is 822-2222 or 911 should you have an emergency. Do not hesitate to call. Utility and payment services or new services. This is when you would rent a house or you buy a home, you need to make a connection to our city services, freshwater and wastewater operations. So to eliminate the need for in-person payments at City Hall, the following is now available, will be available to the public starting first thing tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Online payments, liveuptotehachapi.com, and we have waived the online processing fee. So there's no fee to use the website and pay your bills or sign up for payments. Payments or requests for new services can be again called City Hall 822-2200 and speak with any of our staff members Monday through Friday, 7 to 5:30, just like it was today, just like it was last week, last year. Dropbox is available at City Hall. The payment box has been at City Hall for some time, and it will remain there, and we will continue to utilize that service. Permitting, building, and planning, which is Jay's department. The city will continue to process permits as needed with online forms. Please visit the building department page on the city's website, which is Live Up Tehachapi. You can contact Charles, our building inspector, with any questions at extension 116, the previously mentioned number, or his email address is crBot@TehachapiCityHall.com. All of the city employees are listed. There's a city directory for every city employee, and of course, a phone number. You can fill out and drop off at City Hall or in the Dropbox or email to Troy Marsh for any permits or processing that you might need. And you will be contacted to arrange payments for permits. You can also fill out forms and mail the forms to City Hall at 115 South Robinson. You can also drop them off in the box. For planning questions, please utilize the planning department's website or contact senior planner Kim Burnell, and she's at extension 118. Events. The following city events have been canceled. Coffee with the mayor and city manager scheduled for this Thursday, March 19th, has been canceled, and we will hopefully have that and host that event next month. It's a monthly event. Also, the book drive for the Porterville Library Recovery has been suspended. So we ask that you keep your books at home, and we will reopen that at some point. We also have on our website, going live this evening, COVID-19 response. There's a red ticker tape bar at the top. You can click on that, and we will load that and keep that up to date with any information that is shared to us by federal, state, local officials, and any changes that we have at the city of Tehachapi. We want to remind everybody to practice good hygiene. This is something that we need to fight together. The president, the governor, board of supervisors, they've all asked that we flatten the curve. You've probably heard that term, flatten the curve. We want to get rid of this quickly. We don't want it to spike and lose lots of lives like they have lost in other countries. We're taking a different approach in the United States. So we want to do everything in our power to help, and anything that our leaders of this great country ask us to do, we will implement. Any questions for me regarding our response at the city of Tehachapi?
Just one clarification, the curbside recycling and refuse remains with Waste Management. They temporarily closed their buyback facility on Denison.
Thank you.
So put your bins out as normal, same pickups, all that, but the buyback facility, you can't take your cans, and they were temporarily closing that.
That's what I meant to say, and I apologize if I didn't
So the
make that clear.
blue cans still go out?
Absolutely. So it's the
Thank you.
buyback center on Denison. So if you have aluminum cans or plastic bottles, that recycling buyback center has suspended operations temporarily. Okay? Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. My question is that statement going to be on our website?
Yes.
Thank you. Council member reports, Mr. Davies?
I have nothing, Madam Mayor.
Nothing tonight.
Nothing, just I've seen a few new businesses opening in town, and that's something new. We'll see how long that.
Just one quick thought. I was reached out to by Hutchin Community Blood Bank today. They're canceling all of their mobile blood drives due to the current situation with schools closing and businesses closing and people ramping down being in their homes and people that are self-quarantining. So I would just suggest that if you feel so inclined that you consider, if you are well and healthy, consider donating blood, because we are heading into a very sensitive situation, and that we don't want to compound that with a lack of blood supply. So I just thought I would share with folks that if that's something they are so inclined to do, I would encourage that. I'll be making a trip there this week.
Thank you, Councilmember Schreiber. We can put that on our website and push that on our social media also. Super important. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to adjourn to closed session, but in order to meet the guidelines presented by the CDC, we will be conducting our closed session in this meeting, and we will ask all audience members to please leave the chambers. You can wait in the hallway, and if any action is taken, there is something to report, our deputy city clerk will do so in the hallway as soon as we're finished. We're trying to avoid being cramped up in a little room, so, as per the CDC. Thank you.